From deep in the heart of the amateur radio universe, where the bands are always open and the coffee's always fresh, this is Guy and Gus Ham Radio Gizmos. The show where two hams with nothing in common view the latest gear, gadgets, and gizmos that empty your wallet faster than a ham-fest vendor booth. Keying up first, your eternal optimist who sees potential in every piece of gear, no matter how obscure, Guy Wire. And providing the reality check nobody asked for, the voice of skepticism, the man who questions whether anyone actually needs half this stuff, it's Guy's twin brother Gus.
Hey everyone, great to be here. Welcome to the very first episode of Guy and Gus Ham Radio Gizmos. I'm Guy, and if you can't tell already, I'm pretty excited about this.
And I'm Gus, his twin brother, unfortunately.
See, we're already off to a great start. So folks, what have we got for you today? Stories, history, a little fun, and hopefully we don't bore you to death in the process.
Speak for yourself. I'm planning on being at least mildly irritating.
Mission accomplished. But seriously, before we dive in, let me tell you a bit about us. Gus and I are twin brothers.
Same parents, same birthday. That's where the similarities end.
Pretty much. I'm all about the new stuff. SDR radios, digital modes, FT8, WSJTX. If it's got a USB cable and talks to a computer, I'm probably interested.
And I'm over here with my boat anchors and tube gear. Give me a rig built like a tank that weighs as much as one. You know, radios from when they actually knew how to build things.
He's got more glowing tubes in his shack than a vintage television repair shop.
And you've got more cables and dongles than a computer store. I still don't understand what half of them do.
They connect things, Gus. That's kind of the point.
Back in my day, you had one cable, coax from the radio to the antenna. Simple.
Back in your day? Gus, we're the same age.
In spirit, I'm much older.
Folks, what you need to know is this. Every week, Gus and I are going to talk about ham radio, the gear, the history, the hobby. Sometimes we'll agree. Most of the time we won't. But that's what makes it interesting.
Wait, every week? You didn't tell me this was every week.
Every week, Gus. It's a commitment.
I've got things to do. I've got my Wednesday night QCWACW net on 7035. I've got brass keys to polish. I've got things.
You've got excuses is what you've got. Folks, that's my twin brother. We share parents, maybe a hairline, and absolutely nothing else when it comes to ham radio.
Twin brothers with the same genetics, completely different approaches. You know what Guy runs for power? 5 watts. 5. I sneeze harder than that.
QRP is an art form. Gus, it's about finesse, skill, and making contacts with minimal power. It's challenging.
And I'm over here running my amplifier like a real man. 1,500 watts of pure, glorious RF. Why whisper when you can shout?
You know what Gus's motto is? More power. He's like Tim Allen with a ham license.
And it works. You're over there with your little battery-powered field day setup making 1 contact an hour. I'm working continents before breakfast.
Yeah, and how did that work out with your downspout antenna experiment?
Oh, here we go.
Folks, Gus lives in an HOA neighborhood, right? Can't put up a proper tower. So he gets this brilliant idea.
It was a good idea.
To use his aluminum gutter downspout as a vertical antenna. Ran coax right to it, tuned it up, and on paper, genius.
It worked great for 3 days.
Until it rained. Suddenly, Gus is transmitting into a water-filled pipe with full power. The neighbor's Ring doorbell started chiming every time he keyed up. The garage door opener went insane, and I'm pretty sure the dog 3 houses down learned Morse code.
The SWR was not optimal.
Not optimal. Gus, your gutter was glowing. There was steam coming off it.
Okay. So maybe full power into a rain-filled downspout wasn't my finest moment, but at least I didn't burn down my shack like some people.
You burned down your shack.
It was a small fire, very small, contained.
Tell them why, Gus.
I may have bypassed the thermal protection on my amplifier.
What?
Those thermal cutoffs are for limiting power, We don't limit power in this shack.
They're for preventing fires. Gus.
Well, hindsight is 20 or 20. Besides, the fire department said it was minor structural damage. Minor.
Your wife made you rebuild the entire back wall.
And it's better than ever now. Plus, I added more outlets for future amplifier upgrades.
You're incorrigible.
I'm prepared. There's a difference.
So, folks, that's what you're in for every week. I try to show you sensible, practical ham radio. Gus tries to violate the laws of physics and occasionally local fire codes.
Hey, my experiments are legendary. I just wish more of them worked.
And before we dive into today's show, I've been told by our so-called legal department to read a little disclaimer.
Legal department? You mean you pulled that off the internet, didn't you?
No, Gus. My people handled it.
Your people? You mean you, your wife Eleanor, and that lazy orange cat that sleeps on your operating desk?
Mr. Whiskers is a valued member of my support team. Thank you very much. And yes, Eleanor helped. She's very thorough.
Speaking of Eleanor, didn't she ban you from buying any more radios after the Chinese bulk order incident?
That was one time, and technically I ordered one radio. It's not my fault they sent a case of 6.
Did any of them work?
Eventually.
See, this is why you need power. When your radio only works eventually, you need an amp to compensate.
Or, hear me out, you could buy quality gear in the first place.
Where's the adventure in that?
All right. Let me read this disclaimer before Gus derails us completely. If you wear a pacemaker, have an allergy to laughter, or are generally opposed to fun, this program may cause spontaneous enjoyment. We are not responsible for sudden urges to buy amateur radio equipment, the mysterious appearance of antennas in your yard, or arguments with your HOA. Listen responsibly.
Wait, you know I can't do this every week, right? The QCWA net my keys. I've got responsibilities.
Gus, you polish those keys maybe twice a year and you know it.
Well, Eleanor's gonna have to make more snickerdoodles if you expect me to show up every week.
Wait, my wife has to bribe you with cookies?
Those snickerdoodles are the only reason I agreed to this in the first place. Don't act like you didn't know that.
Fine, I'll talk to Eleanor. But you're committed now, brother. Every week, you and me talking about the hobby, the gear, the history, and yes, the occasional fire hazard.
As long as there are snickerdoodles, I'm in.
Deal. All right, folks. Now that we've established Gus can be bought for baked goods, and I have questionable taste in Chinese radios, let's get into it. All right, let's start with something that's near and dear to every ham's heart. QSL cards. Those little pieces of paper that mean, yes, we made contact. These days, with digital logs and EQSLs, you'd think the old paper cards would have disappeared, but they haven't. There's still something magical about opening your mailbox and finding a card from across the world. Recently, I was lucky enough to buy a box of 40 or 50 cards from a woman whose father and grandfather were both hams. Some of them go back to the 1920s. As I look them over, I can picture her grandfather working CW with W2RJU on 20 watts in 1952. These aren't just cards. They're voices from the past. Every scribble and note carries a heartbeat of ham history. As author of Atlas of QSL Cards, Laura P. Pari said, "A QSL card is a tiny paper handshake. It's all about connection, and the handwritten comments matter most. And that's what keeps this hobby human." You know, when I started researching the history of QSL cards for this show, I had no idea how fascinating it would be. I thought, okay, old postcards. Cool. But it's so much more than that. It's the entire story of how hams connected across impossible distances before the internet, before email, before any of the digital tools we take for granted today. And that's really what we're trying to do here at Ham Radio Gizmos, educate and entertain both new and seasoned hams. Whether you just got your technician license last week or you've been on the air for 50 years, there's always something new to learn, some piece of history to discover, or some gear to geek out over. If you want to dive deeper into the history of QSL cards, and trust me, it's worth it, head over to hamradiogizmos.com. We've got the full story there, complete with photos of some of these incredible vintage cards. There's also a link in the description below. Now, Little fun before we move on. Let's test our listeners with a quick lightning round. All right, secret listeners. Time for your mini quiz. No pressure, but your license depends on it? Not really. Question 1. What does QSL actually mean?
That's easy. Quit sending letters.
Wrong. It's shorthand for I acknowledge receipt. Question 2. What's the oldest known QSL card date back to?
1987. My glory days.
Nice try. 1916. Prehistoric radio. Question 3. True or false? Sending a QSL card after every contact is required by the FCC.
Only if they catch you.
False.
Oh?
But it sure makes friends faster. Speaking of answers, let's check in with the one person who actually knows things around here. Ariel? All right, folks. It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Ask Ariel. She's here to answer your questions.
Hello, Guy. I've been looking forward to this. You're wearing that red shirt again. It really suits you.
Thanks, Ariel. You're very observant.
Oh, for crying out loud. Can we get to the questions?
Of course, Gus. Though I noticed you're wearing the same thing you wore last week.
Yeah. Next, she'll tell us about quantum field propagation.
Actually, Gus, I'd be happy to explain quantum tunneling effects in ionospheric propagation, the wave function collapse mechanisms governing.
I was kidding.
Ha! Okay, Ariel. Let's start with a real question. Marcus from Possum Grape, Arkansas asks, I'm nervous about my first contact. Any advice?
Excellent question, Marcus. From a cognitive behavioral perspective, social anxiety in amateur radio contexts manifests as a complex interplay between amygdala activation, prefrontal cortex regulation, and learned behavioral patterns. The neurochemical cascade involving cortisol and norepinephrine creates a feedback loop that...
Ariel? Maybe something our newly licensed hams can actually use?
Yeah, save the robot brain talk for your PhD dissertation.
Of course. Marcus, first relax. Nobody's grading you. Start by listening for a while, learn the rhythm of conversations. When you're ready, keep it simple. Call sign, name, location. Most hams are incredibly welcoming. Everyone remembers their first contact.
That's perfect. Next question. Rita from Turtle Lake, North Dakota writes, what's the difference between simplex and duplex?
Fundamental communication topology theory. In simplex mode, we observe unidirectional signal propagation along a single frequency vector, whereas duplex operation requires bidirectional, simultaneous transmission, utilizing distinct frequency allocations with carefully calculated offset parameters to prevent desensitization of the receiver front-end architecture through...
There she goes again. Do you just make this stuff up?
I assure you, Gus, my explanations are scientifically accurate. However, for practical application, simplex means everyone talks and listens on the same frequency, taking turns. Duplex means you talk on one frequency and listen on another, like a phone call. Repeaters use duplex so they can receive and transmit at the same time.
Much better. Okay, here's one I know Gus will love. Carl from Peculiar, Missouri asks, why do some repeaters work better than others in my area?
Fascinating query regarding propagation mechanics. The differential performance characteristics derive from multivariate factors, including antenna gain coefficients, effective radiated power calculations, terrain topology masking analysis, Fresnel zone clearance optimization, receiver sensitivity thresholds, and atmospheric ducting phenomena influenced by tropospheric refractivity gradients.
Sweet mercy. She's like a textbook threw up.
Ariel, one more time for the folks at home.
Translation. One's got a hill in the way. Carl, repeater performance depends on location, antenna height, transmit power, and your local terrain. A repeater on a mountain will always outperform one in a valley. Also check if you're hitting it with enough signal. Some repeaters need more power to open up.
Excellent. We've got a couple more great questions from listeners. Deanna from Toadsuck, Arkansas wants to know, what's the best mobile antenna for VHF and UHF?
Before I answer, Guy, I couldn't help but notice. Did you get your hair cut? It looks very nice.
Ah, yes. Actually, thank you for noticing.
Are we doing a radio show or a dating service?
Multitasking, Gus. Now, regarding Deanna's question, the optimal selection requires consideration of standing wave ratio characteristics across the operational bandwidth, radiation pattern efficiency, including vertical and horizontal polarization components, mechanical resonance damping coefficients, ground plane coupling impedance, and vehicle chassis electromagnetic compatibility factors.
I need a drink.
For practical purposes, Deanna, a quality dual-band antenna from manufacturers like Diamond or Comet will serve you well. Mount it in the center of your roof, if possible, for the best radiation pattern. Magnetic mounts work, but a proper through-hole mount performs better. Expect to spend $50 to $100 for a good one.
Excellent. Last question. Randy from Yellville, Arkansas asks, how do I know if I'm causing interference to my neighbors?
Electromagnetic interference analysis involves spectral domain examination of harmonic and spurious emission profiles, conducted via spectrum analyzer measurement of radiated field strength at property boundaries, correlated with susceptibility thresholds of consumer electronics based on FCC Part 15 immunity specifications, and common mode current injection pathways through.
Okay, computer brain, give us the version for humans.
Simply put, Randy, if your neighbor's TV goes haywire when you transmit, you might be causing interference. Use good coax. Check your SWR and add ferrite chokes to your feed line. Most interference comes from poor station setup, not the radio itself. Talk to your neighbors before problems start. It helps.
Ariel, that's always great advice. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Guy. Always a highlight of my week. Remember, the beauty of amateur radio lies not just in the technical complexity, but in the human connections we create.
Did she just get sentimental?
I think she did. All right, Ariel, we really appreciate you taking the time to answer questions from our listeners. We'll see you again next week.
I'll be here, Guy.
Thanks everyone who sent in questions. Keep them coming for next week.
Yeah, especially the ones that don't require a PhD to understand.
And if I can hog-tie Gus again, he'll show you how to turn a garage sale toaster into a 2,000-watt HF amplifier for $15. You can email me at guy@hamradiogizmos. And if you send a message to Gus, I promise I'll show it to him. Maybe follow us on YouTube, or as Gus calls it, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you like to listen. And hey, if you subscribe, it won't make us rich, but it might keep Gus from electrocuting himself for one more week.
And that wraps up today's show. Be sure to check in next week for another episode of The Guy and Gus Show, where we'll explore how to turn your old microwave into a ham radio treasure, not just a popcorn machine.